So to expand a little bit on the metal dating video that I posted a little bit ago, um, I'm a big records keeper on my computer. I like to keep track of different things that I do throughout the year or uh, different races. So what I do is I created a Word document um, for my races that I do each year because if you don't know, I pretty much race 50 to 70 races a year, year after year. I've got like over 500 races under my belt in my lifetime. So to keep track of all those, I made a Word document. Um, so for this year, I've done 5 races already. Um, so I'll have it numbered. I'll put like races. I usually break it down into like road and trail, and then like OCR, like obstacle course races, or like bike races, something like that. And I keep it a little bit separate. But what I'll do is I'll have that Word document. I'll have it numbered, so that way I hit return. It goes to number 2 of the year. Um, I'll put the name of the race that I did, my place for the race. So if I was first overall, third in the age group, whatever, that's where I put that. Then I put the time right beside that, and then the date. That way I can keep track of what I did throughout the year. So then as I hit return, it goes to the second race that I did, and I do this, because it'll have the number 2 in front of it. I do the same thing, the name of the race, my place, the time, and the date. I hit return again, and so then it'll get down to like the third race that I did, and so forth. It's just a nice way to keep track of your races throughout the year. I guess you could call it like a sort of like a spreadsheet. It's a little bit nicer on Word than it would be in Excel, because it'd be a hell of a lot easier to read. So as you're training throughout the year, if you have that list going down, if you only do, we'll just say you only do 5Ks. You do 25Ks a year on average, or maybe you just do 5 or 6. Either way, the point's still going to be the same. So if you do 5 or 6, you make that list and you keep it in chronological order. As your training progresses throughout the year, you can see if you're getting better, you're getting worse, or whatever the case may be. It's just a way to keep track. I know not all race courses are the same. We can have that debate later, but just for record keeping sake, you have that. So I did a 5K. We'll just say you do a 5K one a month. So you have 12 races a year. So in January 1st, you did your first one. Then February 1st, you did your second. So as you keep training, you'll see you can see if your times are dropping, your times are getting worse. You can even make little notes underneath it. I like to keep that type of stuff separate. I just like to keep the basic information on a basic Word document, just because it makes it easier to read. And then if you watch the medal dating video, you can see how I put stuff in the back of the medal. So let's just say you lose a medal, or the wording gets rubbed off. You have that reference as well on a Word document. But to me, it's just a way to keep track. And then if you do the same race, another reason why I do it is because if I do the same race a couple years in a row, or I did it 1 year, skip a year, whatever that case may be, I can look back and be like, hey, when I did this 2 years ago, this was my time. This is my time this year. I could say, oh, well, I did better. Was I, think back a little bit. Was I in better shape, worse shape? Were the conditions worse? Were they better? Get your mind going if you're going to continue to race or run the same races, different races, or if you're going to continue to train for races. It's just information that keeps you, I guess, in check, or just, for record purposes. Because we'll just say like the 500 races that I've done, there's no way in hell I'm going to remember what places I finished, my times, when the race was. It's just mentally impossible for me to do something like that. So having that Word document makes it so much easier. And then at the end of the year, I look back. Well, actually, I do it throughout the year, but even at the end of the year, I'll be like, all right, this is what I accomplished this year. This is how many races I did. And then I start a new one for the following year. So this year, this is February 20th. I've already done 5 races this year. a little behind, but I can go back and look at 2021, see how many races I did so far this year, compare the times, and just, it's also a good way to look when races are held. Not all races get held. Well, I would say they generally get held the same time year after year, but sometimes registrations don't open up right away. Sometimes they don't open up till like a month beforehand. So this way, if you're like, hey, I remember doing this race last year, I wonder when it's going to be held, or roughly what time of year it's held, because I can't remember if it was, June or August. So then you go back and you look at your paper, like, oh, all right, so the race was actually held in June last year, so it's more likely it's going to be held in June again this year. That happens 99% of the time. Races usually don't switch dates, so 99% of the time you have that rough estimate what weekend / month that race is going to be held in. So that way, if you want to do that race, but you also want to go on vacation or schedule some kind of fun event that weekend, be like, all right, we'll just push it back a week or a week earlier, because that race that I want to do again is that weekend. Just little things like that get your mind, I don't want to say moving, but in that mindset of planning and record keeping. Makes things a little bit easier if you're gonna continue to do races year after year, or just continually try to improve yourself. So as you train, you're going to be able to see, hey, my times are dropping, maybe they're getting worse. One of the other things that I do, again, it might be kind of anal. I just like to, look at my back at my history, my record keeping, and be able to tell people, hey, this is this and this is that. I have another Word document that I make of PRs, personal records. So since I don't just do like 1 miles, 5Ks, 10s, halves, I do probably like 30 different kinds of distances. Basically whatever's out there, I've pretty much done it, except for a 200 right now. So this Word document, I'll put 1 mile PR, it'll be like race PRs as the title, and then I'll put like 1 mile, then next line 5K, 10K, half, marathon, whatever. So my fastest 1 mile, I'll put the name of the race, the place I finished in that race, my time, and the date. So basically the same information that I make for the yearly race sheet that I do. It's just the same information, but this is on a completely different one, so that I can keep track of my personal records. You can even do this in training. Say, this is the fastest mile that I've done in training, fastest 5K I've done in training, just to track your improvement a little bit. So then if you have the date, you'd be like, all right, so 4 years ago, I ran my fastest mile. I want to get back to that, see if I can beat that time. So you have to train harder to get to that point again. Just one of those things. Again, it's more of a record purpose type deal, but it's also nice to look back and be like, man, 5-10 years ago I ran, a marathon sub 3. It was like 250 or something like that. I'm just throwing out numbers here. So say if you did like a 250 marathon 5-10 years ago, you could be like, wow, that's really impressive, or I wish I could get back to that. Whereas if you don't have that record anywhere, you don't know where to find it anymore, because maybe the results page is gone, and the results are just basically wiped off the internet. That happens sometimes as timers disappear or races disappear, because sometimes races just keep the records themselves. So when a race disappears, then that whole record's gone. So as long as you have it written down and you keep track of it, then you'll have that for reference purposes as well. It's just nice to see and compare, per se, like where you were to where you're at. So maybe this year I've been training my butt off. I've been crushing races. and I'm setting PRs left and right. So now I go to my PR sheet and I start inserting this year's races because they're better times than last year, or my all-time records. Start inserting that and be like, all right, that's awesome. I'm gonna try for a PR again next year at another race. We'll see if I can get that. If not, then that record will stay for another year till I can get better and knock it out the following year. So just again, for record purposes, just something nice to keep track of. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just one of the things that I do to keep track of things that I do. Because down the road, maybe when I'm 55, 60, that I can't run anymore, I'd be like, wow, I'll have all these lists of all the races that I did, the times that I've did, how many races I've did, my best performances, my PRs at those races, my best PRs like ever for a specific distance. It'd just be nice to be able to look back years down the road, even if you're if you're going to quit training or not be able to do it anymore, or if you're just getting back into it after a couple year hiatus, maybe you have some kids or school, just to be able to look back and be like, all right, I want to crush that again or chase those PRs again. So you just have those record purposes to be able to look at. So if you get a chance, I would create one of those. Just it's another way to have memories and to remember things that you've done in your life. We all cherish memories of things that we've done. So if you can write this stuff down, it helps you remember a little bit and cherish that memory that you have. So if you can do it, I would encourage everybody to do it. And let me know if you have any questions.